Good morning, my dear friends. Today it is your history class. It is the last chapter, Kinship, Caste and Class for the PA first examination. Today I will discuss most of the important topics which are including in this chapter. So it is most important for you. About to the introductions, I will tell. In this chapter, the changes of the political and the social economic life between the 600 BC and 600 CE. It was influenced early Indian societies. In this chapter, we are discussing here social history. It means we are also correlating to the Indian society according to the history, like as a caste, kinship, class, tradition, that had been used by the historians to reconstruct the social history. Some of the textual traditions, these are the facts. Textuals, tradition. According to this, we will say this is the part of social history. Historians use textual tradition to understand change the polity and the economy. Some of the text laid down norms of the social behavior of the Indian society. According to this, we can catch glimpse of stones, social actors from the inscription. We also need to consider the language of the historical text, way in which it's culminated. So, in these chapters, these are the four conceptual descriptions which are given, which are observing from the historians, and including in these chapters, this is Indian societies relating the social history. So in these chapters, one is another terms which is the most important for you and for your board examinations, the story of Mahabharata. It means it is also to decide the central story of the Mahabharata. This is the another terms. This is the another important topics. So you already know about the Mahabharata. What was the land dispute? Why they quarreled among themselves? What were the reasons behind the contradictions? What were the reasons behind the disruptions and the quarreling? So some of the important fact in this story mentioned here. The Mahabharata, like any other epics, contains wide descriptions of the battle, forest, palace and the settlements. What we learn? First we learn battle. Second we learn from forest, palace and the settlements. Settlement. If we will discuss, these are the four concepts. It also tells to you the Mahabharata is an epic which are wide descriptive form. It means when you are hearing a story of the Mahabharata from others persons, you took interest, and you show interest to hear the story of the Mahabharata. It is a very interesting story of the land disputes of the Kauravas and the Pandavas. The central story of the Mahabharata is about the set of the varying cousins. It describes a feud over lands and power. To another terms, what was the feud? There are the two terms, power and land. The contradictions for these two concepts created. First is the power, who thrones on the region of the Hastinapur and capitalized the region of the Hastinapur, and who was the honor and who proclaims their ownership, their kingships on this land. So we can say the conflicts ended in a battles in which the Pandavas emerged victorious after the patrilineal successions was proclaimed. It is also based on the patrilineal. Where a king situated on the throne by the succession of his their son, grandsons, and so on. This is the systems which is achieving from your father. Your father's properties is given to their son, grandson, and so on. It means as continuously going on. This is known as the patrilineal system. Here one another concept which is given by the V.S. Suptankar. What the Suptankar said in his text, in his central ideas about the Mahabharata. So V.S. Suptankar given a critical edition of Mahabharata by V.S. Suptankar. He was a Sanskrit scholar. He also said in his text, what is the central story of the Mahabharata? He undertook a project work of the preparing a critical edition of the Mahabharata and appointing a term of the various Sanskrit scholars. So, according to the V.S. Suptankar, some of the text, some of the important fact which they exclaimed and explains in their own text of in his publishing editions, which is also termed as the Mahabharata. So something is, they have said, they compared the verses kept from different part of the country because they achieving different localities all over the country and each corner of the countries, and correlating to the Indian society, constructing the edition for being it is also said this is a regional conceptualizations, regional continuities model. They compared the verses from each manuscript. The Mahabharata mentions in his text, in his story, they captured and correlating to the Indian society, which are emerging each part of the country. Finally, they settled the selected verses and appeared common the most versions. They published these verses in the several volumes, approximately 13,000 pages. This is also termed as the critical edition of the Mahabharata, which is given by V.S. Subthankar. 13,000 pages and comparison of each manuscript which is mentioned in the Mahabharata. Compared each manuscript and correlating So, it is also said V.S. Subthankar was a social historian and also Sanskrit scholar. He has given advanced editions which is appears in front of me and in front of you, the critical edition of Mahabharata. So, the structure of the family, that is the kinfolk and the norm of the family and the kinship. Structure of family. Kinfolk or norms of family and kinfolk. So, according to the families that are not identified, that are not identicals, they vary in the terms of the numbers, relationship with each other, and the kinds of the activities that they share. This is the term of the family. Family are not identified, not identicals, because it varies a number of the relationship with each others. It shows the number of the relationship with each others. According to this, the kinds of the activities that they share. Families are generally large part of the network of the people known as the relative of or kinfolk. Large people's network which are relating to each other, which are connecting to each others. Familial ties are based on the blood and regarded as natural. It may be tied blood relation or natural relation. So according to this, it is also investigated and analyzed by the historians. These factors are important as they give insights into the people thinking. So this was the mindset, this was the concept which is applied according to the minds and the common sense of people. It may be natural or it may be blood relationship. This is termed as a family. Here one is another term, patrilineal, which I have already told you. Patrilineal. This is also referred tracing descents from the father to son, grandson and so on. Paternal systems I already told to you. Under the patrilineal systems, son have claims their father's wealth when the latter died. After the death of the fathers, the heir of the father is to be their son and grandsons also. It is also known as, in Mahabharata, this is a paternal systems of the confrontation of the story. Succession of son, grandsons and so on. Here we are also defining a social institution like as a marriage. Then first is the rules of marriage according to historians. Rules of marriage. Dharma Sutras recognized also 8 forms of the marriages. Out of the 8 forms, 4 forms of the marriages were considered as good. It may be 4 or like as a devils, means on the pressures it to be hold, it to be organized or reconstruct by the pressure. The remaining marriages were condemned because they do not follow Brahmanical norms. In the history, it is also based on the Vedic seed. It is also related to the Varna system. So most of the things, most of the textual format which is achieving from the Brahmanical norms. Women could not get any share in parental property. This is the concept of the rules of the marriages. Exogamy means where the marriages refer to outside of a group or the kin. It may be there are 2 persons, one is a male and one is the females. One is the group of mine and one is the group of others. This is exogamy refers, was considered desirable. Kanyadan or the gift of the daughters in the marriages was an important religion's duty of the father. Forms of the marriages. Here we also did describing forms of the marriages. In the topic of the rules of the marriages, I have defined 8 forms of the marriages, but four are marriages are good, but 4 condemns not good. Forms of marriage. Here, the first, 4th, 5th and the 6th. These are 4 forms of the marriage from achieving the manuscript. The gift of the daughters, after dressing her in costly clothes and honoring her with parental jewels, to a man learns the Vedic infrastructures, Vedic script. It is also learns of the Vedas, whom the father himself invites. So, some of the forms of the marriages. First is a good form of the marriages, when the father is invited to the automatically by the naturally on the seeings, wellness, goodness you are achieving, you have prepared the knowledge of the Vedas, so the father is applied to the marriage. Types of the marriages. Here, first is endogamy, second is exogamy, third is polygamy, fourth is polyandry. These are four forms of the marriages, which is describing. Endogamy is referred to a marriage inside of a group or the kin. It may be two persons, one is a male and one is a female, belonging to the same group. But the exogamy is referred to the opposite of it. This is also referred to the outside of a group. Marriage is called the exogamy. And the polygamy, a person, a man having several wives. This is the polygamy. And the polyandry, a woman having several husbands. These are the four types of the marriages which are Indian societies addressed by the historians. So according to this, we also just defining one of the another term relate to the marriage. This is known as Gotra, features of the Gotra. Gotra is also refers to the group, refers to the kin. Gotra refers to the name given to a particular group of the people. On the name of the Vedic chief as their forefathers, so as it established kinship between them. The system of the Gotra has significance to the woman. Member of some Gotra could not marry. Some of the women married to the Satvahan rulers belonging to the same Gotra. Here one of the examples. This is also achieving from the forefathers. Gotra is referred to the Brahmanical text. It means the kul. In early Vedic period, it was shown if you are belonging to a higher status of kul, you are achieving higher status of religion. So, some of the texts which are instructing in front of you, features of the Gotra. According to this, caste is also relating in this Gotra, but caste is different from the Gotra. This is earlier an historical fact, but the caste is in Article in amendments of the 1935 mini constitutions has claimed the caste schedules mentions in the Article 35A caste which are emerging in our Indian society, which are connecting to our Indian society. So some of the texts which are interacting some of the important topics which are explaining in front of you caste social differences. You are showing in our Indian society most of the criticism which are involving, which are imbibing, that you are belonging to this caste, you are belonging to this caste. Caste is referred to a set of hierarchy, orders, social categories laid down in the Dharma Sutras and Dharma Shastra. This is the Vedic periodicalist concept. Brahmins claims that they were placed themselves so on the top and Sudras at the bottoms. When we are studying about the Varna system of Indian society of the Vedic periods, then it is referred to as a caste. Caste is belonging to their profession, not it is based on the birth. But in the Vedic periods, it was also based on the birth. The Brahmins claims that the order was divinely ordained. Here, caste is relating to the Jati information. Jati information, what it is said, the social categories are refers to as Jat. Like words were fixed at 4, but there were no restrictions on the number of the Jat. Jats are different, but the words are only 4. In our Indian society, different types of the Jat which are emerging in our Indian society, but we are saying about to the word, it is also refers to the Jat. It is also referred to the profession of the people. There are peoples living in the forest, such as the Nishad, were classified as the Jat. Means tribal communities, most of the tribal communities like Gonds, Santals, which are also related to their own community, their own Jat. So some of the another important facts which are concerning, which are explaining in front of you. Jat which shared a common occupations as the professions were sometimes organized into or guilds. This means it is also achieving from the birth. Here some of the important terms which are calculating from your chapter, which are achieving from your chapters, like is a kul. Next the kin, patrilineal, and metronymics. These are 4 important terms which are referred, which is based on your chapters. Kul, it is a Sanskrit text, use the terms, it is designated to the family. Kin, a group of the peoples having a common lineage. This is also kin. Patrilineal, I already told you, it means where the succession of the son, grandson and so on. Metronymics, where the system of the drivings, names from the mothers, known as the metronymics. Here one is the examples when we are studying about the Satwan rulers. Then mother's name is already addressed by the name in front of the ruler's name. So this chapter has been finished. This is important chapter for you. If you have any doubts, you can ask most of the queries, most of the problems to me. Thank you. Have a nice day.